It, it's time to breathe again on the Fresh Air Webcast. So you see us. It is me, Charles, Guy Patrick with me as well. And I'm going to say right now, apologize for my feed. It's a little in and out right now. And we have storms that might be coming through. So if it's going in and out, that's what's happening. Just so y'all know. So with that, with that, Patrick, nothing that has to do with you, man. It's still totally my end. You know me,
Yeah, mine is always bomb.
So with your 100, what is it, 100 gig, whatever it is now.
I got a nice network, yes.
Well, all right, Patrick. Well, let's jump on this football, man. Last week, college football starting off. It was one of those weekends that we talked about that it didn't have a whole bunch of big matchups on the surface. Big matchups, as in you have this ranked team versus that ranked team, but it had a lot of interesting matchups, and you know how it goes. Normally, those are the weekends where you just see a lot of craziness happen. And
Yep.
that's kind of what we got. So I'll just ask, man, what stuck out to you from last week's action?
Oh, bro, there is so much that stuck out to me on this one, man. When we went over this last week, we said this is a week where not much could happen, or a lot could happen. And I mean, I was almost at the verge of dubbing this like upset weekend, bro, on some of them. I mean, literally, start out with Fresno State. Shout out to Fresno State, bro. They can play some football, man. I mean, and they come ready every single play. I'm not talking every single week. I'm talking every single play. When they make a mistake, it's like watching. It's like watching Alabama when Nick Saban loses his crap on somebody for making a mistake. The coach is right there, but he's not yelling at his players. He is pulling them to the side and educating his players, because when they go back out there, dude, they don't make the same mistake, man. They are on point, and they play good football. So shout out to Fresno State, man. I'm gonna start with them because, man, I watched a little bit of that game. Very, very clean. One of the least penalized teams in all of college football right now, and they're ranked 22. So hey, shout out to Fresno State. I had to start there because that one was. I'm having to look at them right now because they play well. Of course, my dogs whooped up on Vanderbilt.
Scrimmage.
Yeah, that was a scrimmage game. It's funny, dude. I do have to tell you this. My neighbor came over and was like, she goes, I think it's disrespectful that Georgia ran the score up on Vanderbilt like that. And I looked at her for a second. I go, you're an Alabama fan. I don't want to hear it. That's all I said. And I left it at that. But I'll jump right into this because I know you got a lot to say. Arkansas, Texas A&M, bro. Arkansas jumped on them, punched them in the face, and never looked back. I am nervous about next week, and I know we're going to get into that one later here in just a minute. But Arkansas is coming ready to play, man, and they are well coached, and on both sides of the ball, they are hard and tough to deal with. So that game stuck out to me. Of course, I said it. I said it. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. NC State, what's up? I was gonna say, what's up? NC State. Didn't I call that last week? I said NC State's going to be Clemson.
I think we both kind of did it, man.
Yeah, we both did. But we both, and then we put a score to it. I almost hit the score too, dude. I think you were closer though. But that game was rough for Clemson and exposed a lot of weaknesses, and you can tell they're not ready right now. You can tell. Florida looked pretty good. UCLA looked pretty good. I was kind of surprised that Georgia State had as much passing on Auburn as they did, but we both knew that Auburn could be passed on. But I didn't think Georgia State had the weapons to do that. So that game, I watched a little bit of that one. Obviously, Alabama did their thing. Um, Georgia Tech, dude, this is another team that ACC teams are going to have to watch out for. Georgia Tech is playing exceptionally well, and
Smash North Carolina.
they
Smash.
smashed them, bro. And it wasn't even close. I mean, from the get go, it was over at the beginning. So shout out to Georgia Tech for doing their thing. And then pretty much Oklahoma and West Virginia, man, that one came down to the wire. And one thing I do have to say about one more game, and that's Oregon and Arizona. Oregon, they better start cleaning their crap up because they right now do not look like a number 3 seed team. And that is my view on last week.
So you had mentioned the coaching that Fresno State had and how he pulls the players off to the side. He talks to them. He doesn't yell at them. And he just kind of lets them know, hey, this is what happened here. Next time, do this. And then the players are ready to execute. So I bring up the coaching thing because this goes into the Texas A&M Arkansas game. So conversation I had with my dad as we were talking about coaching. And the one thing I was looking at, Jimbo Fisher, of course, he's the coach for A&M, and then Sam Pittman, he's the coach for Arkansas. And one thing that I noticed about Sam Pittman is basically that same thing you were talking about, Patrick. He pulls the players off to the side. He doesn't yell. But you know he has command. You know clearly he is the guy on that sideline, but he's pulling the players to the side. He's talking to them. He's encouraging them. Jimbo Fisher, I don't know how many people pays attention to Jimbo Fisher. And it's not even just here at Texas A&M. It's going back to the Florida State days. He yells, man. He is always yelling at the players. And there are different, we know there's different ways, all kinds of ways you can get through to players, different ways to make things work. But when it comes to communicating with those players, most often they're going to respond better from a coach just talking to them and just sitting there with them and letting them know what they do wrong instead of the constant yelling. And so and so that was something that just kind of stuck out to me when it came to Arkansas. So Sam Pittman has this team that they're ready to play. We're going to jump into that game, of course, with y'all as we talk about the preview. But yeah, the Arkansas, I mean, I know we both said they could beat A&M, and I mean, they did. They were just more physical at the point of attack than they were. And so any team that's going to play Arkansas starting with Georgia next week, that is going to be a physical affair. You're going to have to bring your big boy pads. That is going to be smash mouth football. And if you're not ready to match them, then they're going to get you. With the Oklahoma West Virginia game that you pointed out, look, Oklahoma's going to catch 2 losses, dude. They are. They're going to catch lows, and I'm waiting. Whatever. He'll show up when he shows up, man. Missing persons reports are already out on Jonathan, but I mean, if he ain't showing up now, he definitely ain't going to be showing up here when they start catching these L's.
Nope. I got comments right here. I'm waiting on the comments right here. I'm looking at their center screen. I'm waiting. Jonathan ain't nowhere to be found. You know what? And eventually, neither is that Oklahoma offense. So whatever.
They might catch a loss next week.
That Texas North offense is what.
There it is.
There it is.
They might catch a loss next week. We'll get into that game that they have too. And then Patrick, we put 70 points on Texas Tech. 70.
Shout out to Courtney.
I know. Yes, yes, yes. Shout out to Courtney, and hey, look forward for Courtney to coming back in a few weeks. She's going through some things right now, but she'll be back. She told me she'll be back.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm ready for you, Courtney.
so yeah, but yeah, they hung 70 up. They got TCU next week. But yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it when it came to those games. To look back, the Notre Dame Wisconsin game, that was an interesting one to me because I know that was the final score was 41-13. But for anybody who's watching that game, that was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin actually took the lead, but then Notre Dame hit a kickoff return for a touchdown, and Wisconsin just turned into a turnover machine. And, and then it
It
was,
all started with that dancing.
huh?
It all
Oh,
started
with
with
the
that
jump
dancing.
around.
You jump around. You don't do that. You jump around when there's 3 zeros on the clock. Because if
Oh man.
you leave it out there for people to come back. I mean, I'm not huge on Notre Dame. I mean, as a matter of fact, I know we're going to get into it next here in just a minute, but I actually got Notre Dame catching their first loss this coming up week. So that's his personal opinion.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I felt like Wisconsin was right for the taking, and then they just turned it to turnover machines. They just self-destructed in the fourth quarter. Let's see, is there any other games that stuck out? And I think you pretty much hit them all because it's pretty much where I was at with them. Really, just Arkansas kind of asserting themselves. We're gonna get into Clemson in better detail later on in the show. But yeah, North Carolina State. One thing about North Carolina State, no matter how good Clemson is, that is always a tough game for Clemson, no matter what, no matter the year. NC State just happens to match up better with them than most of the other teams in the ACC. And this year, at home, they got them. Yes. And so with that, Patrick, let's get into those games for next week.
Let me say one more thing for all you Clemson fans out there. You are already a 2-loss team. That's going to be hard. So, man, I will say this. I look forward to the 8-12 team playoff because I can tell you right now, most of those Clemson players, they're already hanging it up saying we ain't playing in no bowl game.
Yeah, but we'll get into them in a little bit, man. In more detail on that note. But what are you looking forward to this week?
Oh, I'm looking forward to a couple of games.
Besides Arkansas and Georgia, of course.
Well, that one is a given. Obviously, that's always a given. So I was actually gonna mention them last because that is a given. But Iowa and Maryland, I look forward to that one because Maryland always matches up really good to Iowa, just like Maryland always matches up good to Texas. For some reason, they match up, and it doesn't matter the year. This is one of those teams that doesn't matter the year for these two teams. They always match up good against Iowa, and they always match up good against Texas. I think Iowa does win. I don't think that I would put Iowa up on upset alert by no means, but I think it'll be an interesting game, and I think Maryland can keep it close for a little bit before Iowa actually starts taking over and running away with it. But I think it'll be an interesting game to watch because I think it's really good. I think that would be really good football. Michigan, Wisconsin, that has the potential to be a good game. It's either going to go one of two ways. Either Michigan is going to smash them or Wisconsin is going to make a game out of it. It's one of two ways. And I still got Michigan winning both of those ways, but it has the potential to be a good game. If it will, who knows? We'll see. It will see when Wisconsin takes the field.
How good do you think Michigan is, though? Like that's the question that
I'm still waiting to see. But this is the problem is that Michigan is running into. They're not running into any games that they shouldn't win right now. You know what I mean? Michigan has always been a team that has started off in the rankings. They're ready to play. But then for whatever reason, they're good on paper, but they're not good on the field. Well, right now, they're translating to being good on the field. And me personally, I never thought that they were that good on paper. So maybe Jim Harbaugh stumbled onto something. Maybe he goes out for 2-star recruits instead of 4-star recruits, and he gets players that can play. I don't know. But I don't know how good Michigan is yet. I think we'll get a little bit of a glimpse on how good they are. I think they win, but I don't know if they're going to win by much. I really don't. I think Wisconsin's going to make a game out of it. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Michigan run away with it because Wisconsin just took that heavy loss last week. And they're either going to be A, mad, or they're going to be B, with a hangover, and they're not going to want to play. I don't know yet. But it's the nature of Wisconsin this year. They either want to show up and play or they don't want to show up at all. So I don't know yet. So I think we get a glimpse of how good Michigan actually could be. But I don't know if we're going to see really how good they are until they play somebody like Michigan State or Ohio State. And Michigan State's playing pretty well right now as well. Cincinnati and Notre Dame. This is one of the one of the 3 games that I'm pretty excited about because I think this is going to be a really good game. Probably one of the better games of the week. I got Cincinnati winning, obviously, because it's Notre Dame. I got Cincinnati winning. I don't think they're going to smash them, but I do think Cincinnati comes in and beats them. The third game that I want to see, Ole Miss and Alabama, man. This one's going to be good. This one's going to be good because I think Ole Miss can get them. Now they are playing in Tuscaloosa. I don't know how true that is about them getting them, but I think they could. They have the offense to do it. They do have the offense to do it. Do they have the defense to keep Alabama from scoring? I don't know, but it is one of the games that I'm going to watch. I do. This is crazy, man, but Ohio State and Rutgers, man. Rutgers could win that game. Again, I'm not going to say they are, but as bad as Ohio State is really not playing that well on both sides of the ball. Rutgers is playing better than they are. I think they lost last week. Did they lose last week?
Yeah, Michigan beat them.
But they held them close for a little bit. So
yeah, it was 20-13. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, that's right. They held them closer to at the end of the game. But that one has the potential, again, another potential to be a good game. Florida, Kentucky looks like it might be that might be something good to watch. Baylor, Oklahoma State, and then one more game. There was one more, Auburn and LSU. So
yeah, it's a big day. Big day in the SEC. A lot of those 4 games: Arkansas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, LSU, all big games there in the conference. So, I mean, with Arkansas and Georgia, we got into it. It's going to be smash mouth. That's going to be a really physical game there between the edges. Ole Miss and Alabama. Now, I know you've heard me say on this show, Ole Miss to me is dangerous because of that offense. And if they get a little bit of defense to go with that, they could really upset things in the SEC West. And I would go as far as to say that is probably Alabama's biggest threat right now is Ole Miss. Now, I don't know what LSU is bringing to the table. I know they got beat by UCLA, and then they just been kind of just under the radar since then. They'll come back into it a little bit, of course, playing Auburn a later Saturday night. So we'll find out a little bit more about LSU and what they're going to be about. But Ole Miss, I think right now that's the biggest part. Of course, Alabama, they're going to play Auburn in the Iron Bowl. That's always a dangerous game as well. But yeah, Ole Miss to me, they have a guy. I mean, it's Lane Kiffin who's the coach. He's not scared, and I mean he knows Alabama.
let me say something. I know you're in the middle of your thing, but I gotta say two things about this Ole Miss Alabama game. Uh, we're gonna find out what Bryce Young is about in this game. I really truly feel if we're gonna find out if he is worth his NIT $1 million worth of money, if he's worth it. We're gonna find that out.
Patrick, why do you keep going back to that?
Because let's be completely honest. The reason why he is making $1 million is because of this name, image, and likeness. And we're going to find out if he is going to be the quarterback that is going to take Alabama to that glory road again. That's one. Two. I forgot what my second point was because you went back to that thing and I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, I'll remember it here in just a minute. But we're going to find out if Bryce Young is really as good as everybody has been praising him to be right now.
Well, yeah, so we'll see about that game. I'm not ready to say Ole Miss is going to go to Tuscaloosa and win that. I would still give a slight edge to Alabama, but this is a threat. This is a threat to Alabama, big time. Yeah, yeah.
I remember what I was gonna say, but go ahead.
But no, yeah, but those games, Florida and Kentucky, that's an interesting one. I think Florida will prevail in there, but playing up there in Lexington, that's going to be tough. Kentucky's got a good team, so it'll be interesting to see how Florida deals with that environment if they can throw a little bit more, because we know they're going to run the ball. So if they can get to throw a little bit more, then maybe that makes their attack really, really dangerous with that running game that we saw against Alabama. And that could be trouble for the rest of the SEC East, I guess. Of course, they play Georgia in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, so we'll see how that happens as well. And then, yeah, Auburn, LSU, we talked about. We just got to see which one of those teams show up. We don't know what we're going to get from LSU. Auburn benched their quarterback, so they got a new quarterback playing. I don't know who's going to be starting, but I know they sat Bo Nix down and brought in TJ Finley. So we'll see if they continue to do that. Personally, it's just me. And after this, I'll be pretty much done. I mean, yeah, I talked to you a little bit about the Big 12, Baylor, Oklahoma State, as you mentioned. That could be a very good game there. Oklahoma can catch an L against Kansas State. And we're going to TCU. Yeah, I mean, there's some good. The Iowa Maryland one is a good one to look out for as well. That's a Friday night game, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Auburn LSU game. Don't know. There was something I was going to say about that one, and now I just lost the train of thought a little bit. Oh, okay, yeah.
As bad as I am.
I know, man. No, I got it now. To me, with Auburn, I think you have done pretty much all you can do with Bo Nix. Like I just don't see that guy uplifting the team any more than he has. And I do feel like the quarterback change going to TJ Finley, if Auburn's going to do anything, I think he's the guy who's going to take them there. Be interesting to see if this is his first start in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. One of the toughest environments, as we know, in all of sports, not just college football, and all of sports. But I think if Auburn's going to reach the ceiling or get us a higher ceiling, he'll be the guy to take them there. All right, my bad. Sorry.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. We've sat and watched Bo Nix do what he's going to do every single year, and the outcome has been the same every single year. So, no, I'm 100% agreeing with you. I don't think Bo Nix is going to go into Georgia and beat them, but this what's his name? TJ what?
TJ Finley.
Finley. I've watched him I watched him in like training camps and stuff like that. I haven't really watched him play, but he's got a hell of an arm, dude.
Patrick, I can tell you this. Some of the plays he made at the end of that game against Georgia State, Bo Nix are not. He's not making those plays. He's not.
Right.
So,
And I only saw a few highlights from him playing. I didn't like what I'm saying is I didn't watch the game while he was in the game. You know what I mean? I just watched a few highlights from what he was playing. He's got a hell of an arm. So I think if Auburn is going to move forward, they need to start thinking about moving forward today and put him in and not look back. But then I got my one thing that I was going to say about Alabama, and this is real quick. When Lane Kiffin was in Alabama, he was the only coordinator that I've ever seen buck back at Nick Saban. And Nick Saban, in a lot of ways, I think Nick Saban liked it. I think he liked it because he was being tested and saying, look, I know what you are saying, and that's what you always do, but that's what they're always expecting. So let's do something different. And he's like, no. And he's like, then I'm going to. And it doesn't matter what you say. And it pays off. You know what I'm saying? So, out of all of that, I haven't been a huge fan of Lane Kiffin, and you know that. I've said it on this show many, many times. I am a Georgia Bulldog fan first and an SEC fan second. And I hated with a passion what he did to Tennessee. But, got to give credit where credit's due. He would stand up for himself towards Nick Saban, and it's the reason why he is where he's at today, head coaching another team in the SEC, and he's doing quite well. So I think he's done a lot of growth when he went out to USC and he did his thing out there, and then he come to Nick Saban, and Nick Saban was like, you ain't doing that here because I will put you in the ground. I won't fire you. I'll put you in the ground, bro, and that's it. But from all the times I've ever seen it, it's the only person I've ever seen buck at Nick Saban, and I liked it. So,
yeah, he got humble. He got humble, man, because it was a disaster in Tennessee, and he went out to USC. It was a disaster out there. So you go to the college football rehab program, which is the Alabama coaching staff, and so you can start to get some things back going. You get some credibility. It's kind of it's kind of like the Alabama coaching staff, Patrick, and I think you'll like this, man. It's kind of
meeting,
huh?
It's like an AA meeting.
No, not even an AA meeting. You'll like this because this is a financial thing. It's kind of like you got to build some credit, and so you go to Alabama staff to kind of rebuild your credit. and in this case,
Nick Saban's nickname is Credit Karma.
Yes, man, because you are rebuilding credibility to your coaching career, and so that's what I equated to.
2 years and he went to Ole Miss. Can't beat that. I'll do it.
That's what I equated to, man. Got to rebuild credit. And if you're a hurting coach right now and you done had a few bad jobs, yeah,
Nick Saban.
Be a coordinator real quick.
Come over, be a coordinator for 3 years, and we'll put you head coach anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
He should stop the Aflac commercials and do that.
Yeah, exactly, man.
He make a crap ton of money.
Those are some good commercials, especially the ones he's got with Prime Time now.
Yeah.
But Patrick, hey, let's jump into Clemson real quick before we go into the NFL. So as we had talked about, Clemson they lost to NC State 27-21 in overtime. 2 losses now in the first month of the season. And that's the thing. 2 losses in the first month. So, I guess we can ask what is happening with Clemson, but this is, I think to me, Patrick, this is the Nick Saban effect. We're gonna go here with this because with Nick Saban and what Alabama does, that's what makes it so remarkable. They've been able to stay at this high level of competition in the best conference in college football. On top of that, and just sustaining this decade and a half of consistency. 6 national championships. They've been in at least 2 more championship games that they lost to Clemson. and they're still here, and here they are. They're the number one team in the nation now. So the thing with Clemson is, a lot of people thought, hey, this is the program that's up there with Alabama. Kind of, they took some losses to the personnel. A lot of guys went to the NFL. It's supposed to be the pipeline. Hey, Clemson, they just reload. But it is almost certain now they're not making the college football playoff. That will break a run of 6 seasons that they have been in there. I mean, this is just going off the top of my head here. 2015, lost the national championship game to Alabama. 2016, they beat Alabama in the championship game. 2017, lost to Bama in the semifinal. Yeah, in the semifinal. Beat Alabama next year in the championship game. Lost in the championship game to LSU in 2019, and then last year it was in the semifinal to Ohio State. So that's 6 straight seasons they've been there. They're not going there this year. I mean, and we can go to Vegas with that one and put in some bets. And if anybody wants to buy it, hey man, we got some beachfront property in South Dakota we can sell you. So, so I mean, I guess the question, Patrick, is what what happened? Like this is a significant fall here for Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I chalk it up to a couple of things. And I'm going to say, remember the Arkansas team we so hated, and it was mostly because of the coaching staff. And this was about 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where the coaching staff was worried more about everybody else than he was his own team. Remember that?
Was it Petrino?
I think it was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Bobby Petrino was. Yeah, his guard.
So here we are, 5 years later. Dabo is worried about everybody else, and he's not worried about Clemson. Clemson is where his priority should be at. Go ahead. You have something to say. Go ahead.
Are you saying this is a Texas effect, like the last few years in Mac Brown's tenure?
Yeah. He is not worried about his team. He's worried about everything else. Why don't we have more people going to the playoffs? Well, he's already started making this pitch that he has not got the team and he's not reloading. So he's worried about everybody else. He's trying to get more playoff spots. He's trying to get more this. He's trying to do this. And he's not worried about focusing on Clemson. We fast forward 5 years. You can mark it. Fast forward 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. You look at Arkansas. You take out the Petrino. You put in the coach that they have today. I cannot think of his name.
Sam Pittman.
Look at what Arkansas is doing, because Sam Pittman is worried about Arkansas. He's not worried about everybody else. You look at Nick Saban. Nick Saban's worried about Alabama. He's not worried about everybody else. You look at Kirby Smart. He's worried about Georgia. He's not worried about everybody else. And then you got this team, Cincinnati, and their head coach is worried about Cincinnati, not everybody else. You have to take care of your own business, and this is not just college football. This is not just NFL. This is everyday life. You worry about your business, and you let everybody else do what they do. You can't control what everybody else does on their team, but you can control what's going on your team. So let's handle what you can control and let everything else fall into place. Leave it on the field. If that's where you want to go, leave it on the field. But you got to worry about your team, and Dabo is not worried about Clemson. He's worried about everybody else, and he's trying his best to make all these pitches about how everything should be different so that it caters to him, and now he's sitting in 25th. Stop worrying about everybody else. Worry about Clemson, and you would have been fine, because they have the players. They reloaded very well over the offseason during recruiting, but it's not showing out. It's not showing on paper right now. It's not showing on the scoreboard. He's worried about everything else, and he's not worried about Clemson. That's my personal take on
it. That's an interesting take on, and actually, I mean, that is. I can't say it any better. I mean, because I guess the thing that I would want to see is how will he recover from that? So you have this year. You've been used. I mean, it's been an expectation you were going to be there
Mhm.
in the college football playoff, and you're not going. Clemson's not going to be there this year. So how do you recover the year after? And if it's one of those things where they're struggling again next year and the year after, then yeah, now it looks eerily similar to the end of Mac Brown's tenure at Texas. So I mean, I guess that's where I was thinking from what you were saying. That is that is awesome because honestly, I really didn't look at it that way. And I said, yeah, this could be the beginning of it because yes, he is. I agree with you, Patrick. He is doing too much politicking toward all this other stuff. And I think because of what was happening with Clemson, not to mention the ACC hasn't been good at all, then with all this stuff that's been happening, it's just this expectation. Hey, go ahead and pencil Clemson in for the college football playoff. Maybe they got too spoiled on it. Maybe he just sat there and just assumed that they were going to be there and he got off of that grind. You remember that grind that he was on when he was
That,
like,
that look in his eye
mm-hmm,
every year. He hasn't had that look
mm-hmm.
in 2 years, bro. I can tell you that right now.
Yes. And so now all that stuff is happening with the politicking. Oh, maybe the playoffs shouldn't be here. Remember last year when it came to Ohio State getting in there? Well, I would have had them ranked number 12 if it was up to me. And then they got smashed by Ohio State in the playoff. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, yeah, that's a very interesting perspective there.
I
I
want to
have
know yours. What were you going? I want to see yours.
well to me, I think it could be that. It could be. But I guess I would have to see how he responds next year,
Yeah.
and the year after. But my point was what you had hit about him doing all this other bull crap off to the side. And I said, yeah, I think with him going out here and trying to do all this politicking, I think he started taking things for granted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a Dabo Sweeney problem here. Um, and that message that might be getting through to the players, or maybe was getting through to the players before, it might be starting to erode a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. It just depends on how it goes from from here forward. So maybe Clemson can go ahead, they can pick up the season, and hey, maybe they can still win the ACC and go to a New Year's Six bowl. Does it look likely? That offense looks pretty bad. Uh, but but yeah, I mean they're still there. They can still win the ACC if they run the table. We haven't seen anything from Clemson that says they're going to run the table.
No, because I mean, they still got Wake Forest, and Wake Forest holds a better chance of getting into the playoffs than they do right now.
Yeah,
So
right.
Boston College 4-0. So you look at those two teams. You got that. You got Georgia Tech, who was 2-2, and but I can tell you right now, Georgia Tech ain't gonna be no walk in the park if they play them.
Well,
Uh,
they
they're on,
already. Are you talking about Clemson playing Georgia Tech, or
yeah,
because they played them already?
they
Remember,
did.
yeah, Clemson beat them 14-8.
Oh yeah, we talked about how Georgia Tech should have probably won that game. That's right. That's right. You are right. I forgot about that. But I mean, so they've played Georgia Tech and they played NC State, and that's two of their conference. Who else have they played? They,
Oh,
they,
they
they have
just they
Pennsylvania.
haven't played anybody else in conference yet.
Okay,
It was South
so
Carolina State, and then the game against Georgia.
they still have Wake Forest. They still have Louisville, uh, and then they still have Boston College and Syracuse and Florida State. And truthfully, with Wake Forest the way they've been playing, Louisville the way they've been playing, and Boston College the way they've been playing, they still might have 3 losses sitting out there waiting on them. I mean, and that's just going off of what I've seen in the past 4 weeks, watching those teams play. Because Wake Forest is not going to be a walk in the park. NC State was not a walk in the park, obviously. Louisville is not gonna just wait on. They're not gonna be easy. Florida State might be might be a pretty easy game for them. But Syracuse might even give them a hard time. So, and then depending on who wins on the coastal side, I mean, you're looking at Virginia Tech still sitting at 3-1. I mean, they still could possibly face Georgia Tech again in their conference. You still got Duke, and you still got Pittsburgh. I mean, anybody that was saying this was Clemson in the rest of the conference, it's obviously not anymore. I mean, now I just mentioned out 7 teams that could possibly still beat them.
All right, Patrick. Well, hey, we're gonna put a pin on Clemson. We got to jump into the NFL for a little bit. What games stuck out to you from last week, or the results from last week?
So it was a pretty good. I mean, it was a pretty good week. I mean, I was happy because the Falcons actually finally pulled something out of their butts and won something, which was a surprise, honestly, because truth be known, Giants probably should have beat them. To be completely honest, the Giants played a lot better game than they did. But I will say this about the Falcons: Matt Ryan playing in an offense that has been catered to him for 9 years, 10 years, whatever it was, and you got this new coach coming in. What's his name? Like Alex Smith. Arthur Smith. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you froze. So Arthur Smith is bringing in a new offense, and then you got a new offense coordinator, you got a new defensive coordinator, pretty much a whole new coaching staff, and then you lose Julio Jones. I think Matt Ryan is struggling with this a lot. I mean, I think he likes having the control out on the field, and I don't think Arthur's giving it to him. And rightfully so. You gotta get everything wrapped up and willed into where you feel comfortable about releasing him and letting him run the offense. I don't think Atlanta's going to be too much of a team that's of any concern for any playoffs this season, but I don't know if they figured out anything. Truthfully, I think Atlanta's going to be struggling for the rest of the season, and pulling off a win like that against New York, which honestly New York should have probably won, was big for them. But especially it's going to be something to build on. Buffalo did exactly what we expected them to do. They smashed Washington. But the game that I wanted to talk about the most is the Rams and the Buccaneers. I have been getting a lot of people telling me, I don't think Matthew Stafford's going to change. I don't think that really changed the Rams and how good they're going to be. I keep telling people, 3,500 to 4,000 yards passing with 30-plus touchdowns and more interceptions than he should have, with no offensive line. This man is going to tear this up. And if this is how he is thinking, I mean, he even said it in a press conference, if this is how NFL football is supposed to be, I love it. This is what he is going to do phenomenal in the Rams. And he is orchestrating a nice, fingers crossed. I hope the best for him. He is orchestrating a nice start of a season. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, over 1,000 yards passing already, and it's only week 4. Just saying.
Yeah, the Rams looked impressive against Tampa Bay for sure. That offense looks really potent, and Stafford just looks like a guy who is just having a lot of fun. He's in a situation where he knows there's people around him. He just never really had that in Detroit. He had a player or two. I mean, we know he played all those years with Megatron, but other than that, I mean, it's just been kind of a revolving door. Never had a running game for him. They just never really had a cast of characters to really do anything in Detroit. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm a Matthew Stafford fan. Hell, he's a Texas product. So,
Yep.
hey, uh, I'm bittersweet about Matthew Stafford. I'm glad to see him do well. I just didn't want him to see it do. I just didn't want to see him do it with the Rams because of the
And,
rivalry.
it's completely understandable. One more game, and then you got the floor. I wanted to talk about this Philly Dallas game. Dallas obviously won. I think that was like 41-21. Exerted a lot of dominance, especially in the second half. I'm still not going to put them on winning a Super Bowl. But the reason why I bring this game up is not because of Dallas won, but because of what Jalen Hurts is figuring out. He is this is his first year in the start. And watching him starting to read defenses, and you can see it on his face when he threw that second touchdown pass. He's going to figure that out. And I'm just going to say this: never been a huge fan of Philadelphia as a city because they always throw games. I think they're starting to come out of that, and with Jalen Hurts figuring this offense out, when he does, and he can keep all of those weapons around him, that offense is going to flourish. They will be good. Now, they still got to get a defense to stop Dallas from scoring 41 points. But, hey, Jalen Hurts, man, he started figuring some stuff out last night, and it was actually really nice watching him play.
Well, all right. Number one, with that, he needs more than 3 other running plays. The coaching staff's got to help. That is ridiculous. 3 runs for Miles Sanders. He's a big play guy. You got to get him the ball in his hands, running the football more than what Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff was doing. I mean, you putting Jalen Hurts back there to throw the ball over and over and over again. That's not a recipe for anybody. Let alone a first-year guy. I mean, you gotta provide some balance. So that has to get better around him as well. Of course, the Packers 49ers game on Sunday night. Look, 49ers scored, made it 28-27. 37 seconds left, no timeouts. It's still too much time for Aaron Rodgers. You cannot give him that much time. And another thing, he's going to look for Devontae Adams. If anybody is not catching the ball, it's going to be him. I will triple team him before he gets the ball. And so I don't know what the Niners are doing there. Yeah. So I don't
let him in on that guy and just be like, look, if you beat me rushing, I tip my hat to you because he is not catching the football.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened there with that defense, but he got loose and it was 2 big completions. Mason Crosby, we know he's a clutch kicker. And he hit the kick. So Green Bay came in there, they hung on because they had us down 17-0. We were able to come back, but hey, Green Bay made the plays when they had to have them. Give them credit. And then you mentioned the Buccaneers and Rams. The Rams look impressive. The Raiders are still kind of plugging along. They had a tough game, went to overtime with the Dolphins, but they were able to pull that out. And there was another game, Cincinnati, man. Cincinnati went to Pittsburgh and beat them, and now they're 2-1. They got the Jags coming in on Thursday night. So Cincinnati could be sitting here on a 3-1 record through the first quarter of the season. So those are just some of the things that stuck out to me. So we're going to spend just a few minutes here, Patrick. How many games are you looking forward to? Well, what you got?
I got one more thing, and it just hit me. I forgot to say. Shout out to Justin Tucker. Is that his name?
Yeah, the 66-yard field goal.
Holy crap! That's a record, right?
Yeah, that's a record.
But 64 was the last one. 66. Holy cow! I just remembered it when you said something. I can't remember. Anyway, 66. Hey, shout out to Justin Tucker for knocking that one down. That was right down the pipe too, dude.
It was. It hit the upright. Yeah.
Hey, whatever makes whatever. Hey, we always say it, the life of a kicker. You're either getting tons of booty or you getting none. So, and he's gonna get 66% of one. I can tell you that right now.
Well, what are you looking forward to this week?
Let me pull the games up because I didn't look at them.
All right. Well, do you have the schedule up?
I got the schedule
in mind if you do.
Huh?
I said I can get into it if you don't.
Oh yeah, I got the schedule up right now.
All right.
You go ahead and start, and let me look over the matchups real quick.
All right. So we got the Cardinals and Rams. That's one. Well, I guess both of those games within the NFC West. 49ers playing Seahawks, Rams and Cardinals. They're both 3-0. The Ravens and Broncos is an interesting one. Denver is 3-0 right now. We're going to find out a little bit more about them. Schedule hasn't been that tough. Not trying to take anything away from Denver, but they played the Giants, the Jags, and the Jets. So with the Ravens coming in, that would be a little bit tougher. That'll be a bigger gauge there with the Ravens. The Raiders and Chargers on Monday night will be a good one to look at to see which one of these teams can start to ascend in the AFC West. Forgot to mention real quick, I saw the Chargers won in Kansas City the week before as well. And then, of course, Tampa Bay is visiting New England, so that's the Tom Brady game returning to New England. We'll see what happens with that. But, there's a few other ones on there. Browns and Vikings could be interesting. I think the Packers will handle the Steelers. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. That's like half the schedule though.
Yeah, I was thinking to say, you covered more than half actually. You literally left like a couple of games that Carolina going to Dallas. That's actually going to be a interesting game, mostly because I want to see if Dallas is what everybody's saying it is, and we're going to find out. And I personally think Carolina goes 4-0 and Dallas goes 2-2, but I would like to see if Dallas can hang in there. That's basically what I want to see. I want to see if Dallas can hang against that Carolina defense that is just all over the place, bro. I have never seen more gang tackles in a game in my life than these Carolina Panthers, man. They're fast. They're edgy. They hit holes quick. They cover holes quick. They contain quarterbacks. You don't rush on this team at all. And their pass defense is freaking phenomenal. And then that's just the defense. And you're still looking at the offense at Sam Darnold, who is just orchestrating a phenomenal season himself. So, I hope I'd like to see Sam Darnold keep doing that, and hopefully that he does, man, because that is a really complete team in Carolina, and they are good and they're fast. So I'd like to see what Dallas can do against that defense.
All right. Well, did you have any more games before we?
No, you covered you covered all the rest of the games.
All right.
You just missed that one.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey. All right. Well, Patrick. So we have a few minutes. We're gonna debut this new game real quick. So we're gonna calling it valid or laughable. So what I'm gonna ask you is based off of
you surprised me with some of the
yes. Hey man, you gotta have the creative mind in there when you're trying to think of some of these games. So there we go, man. That's the one I came up with. Valid or laughable. So what I'm gonna ask you is based off of the overreactions we hear, throughout the year, especially in these first few weeks where something happens and it's like, oh, this team is going to the Super Bowl, or oh no, this team is going to complete and utter crap. So, so we are going to talk first about the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, as it stands right now, they're sitting in last place in the AFC West. Raiders and Broncos 3-0. Chargers are 2-1. Chiefs are 1-2. So, valid or laughable? And that's got to be your answer. Valid or laughable? The Chiefs are finishing last in the division.
I'm going to say laughable. I don't think that they finished last in their division. I just don't. I mean, look, it's really early. They're 1-2, so let's be completely fair about the whole thing. That means they play the Chargers, and then they all of a sudden in third place off of one game. You know what I mean? They did make it to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, do I think they have a target on their back? Absolutely. I think people are going to be prepared for Patrick Mahomes and what he does. And is he going to have his phenomenal season where he throws 170,000 touchdowns and 4 interceptions? No. But Kansas City is still a good team. And what they need to do is simple. Kansas City's problem is very, very simply, easily fixed. Go back to what gets you your wins. That's it. They've kind of strayed away from what they are allowed. They've kind of strayed away from what they do best, and that's let Patrick Mahomes play his game. That's it.
All right, now one more thing about this valid or laughable. We made our picks. We know we both say Kansas City's going to win the division. So the valid or laughable one is just, are there do you see concerns off of that? So that's all it is really. It's not really one of those things where it's like, oh no, Chiefs aren't going to win it. No, we do want to see is there reason for concern. No, I'm with you. I will say this though. They're going to need more than Patrick Mahomes, Patrick. I do believe that. They have to run the football better. And their defense is not good.
That's 2. So, and then the third is the receiver got to catch the flipping ball.
Yeah, they had some drops against the Chargers for sure. The Chiefs, there's no reason to really worry about them. But if those things do not improve, then hey, we might have to revisit this game in a few weeks and see if those turns into ballots instead of laughable.
Yeah, it quickly turned into ballots. I mean, I didn't see the Raiders going 3-0 like that. At all. I mean, you heard about it. Absolutely not. Their offense is horrible. But here they are, 3-0, and with an 18-point differential. So,
all right, Patrick. So
put that way.
So we have this one last question, and then we got to get ready to get out, man. So we got to be quick with these responses. I'm gonna bring in the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals sitting at 3-0. So, is it valid or laughable that they can be they can have the best record in the NFC?
That's valid. I mean, it could be valid. Anything's possible. I think they will. No, but do they have a possibility? Well, they're 3-0 and they're playing really good football. So, yeah, I think it's valid. I think that's valid.
You know, I'm with you. Yes, I do think it is valid. Now, of course, do we think they will? No, we don't think they will. But Arizona has as explosive of an offense as anybody in the league, with Kyler Murray as the quarterback and the weapons he has to throw to. And that defense is they're okay. They're pretty good. They can make some plays. They have Chandler Jones there and JJ Watt rushing the passer. Isaiah Simmons is a beast at linebacker, and Buda Baker back there in the secondary. I'm with you. Now, I think they'll finish third. I mean, that was what I projected in the NFC West. I think they'll finish third. because I think Seattle's on the way down. I think they'll be last. But
They're right where they need to be.
yep. But yeah, man, I'm with you, man. Valid. Now, of course, you know how it goes. We'll sit there. We're going to talk about these things as the season goes along. And then we might have to revisit that one too, just like we're going to revisit the Chiefs. Uh, and so with that, I guess that will wrap up this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. Y'all make sure y'all get to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button down there. And and keep the likes coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. So I like that, Patrick.
I'll commentate it every time now. Smash the subscribe button, leave some comments, hit that like button.
So with that, man, love it. With that, everybody take care, have a good rest of the week, and we will talk to you soon.